Turned out I forgot to add myself to the stream because I was enjoying the music in the background. So groovy. Anyway, welcome back to GSD Part 2, Day 5, Finding Direction. For those of you who just got here, my name is Tanwa Pontip. I'm a lecturer at Prince of Songkhla University, Phuket campus. And this is GSD with Tanwa, Getting Shit Done with Tanwa Part 2, where we talk about how to be a better researcher. And it aims at usually the graduate students. So if you are a master's student, a PhD student, this is for you, right? This is episode 5 or day 5, as I like to call it. In the past 4 episodes, we have talked about what does it mean to have a good research project, how to find literature, and how to read literature, right? What we haven't talked about is that once you have read all the literature, how do you find your own direction, right? This is one of the most common questions that I have ever got from students. Usually they would come up to me and say things like, I have read so many papers and I still don't know what to do as far as doing research goes, right? So today we're going to touch on that. Keep in mind, if you have not watched day 1 and day 2, right, what does it mean for your research to be valuable? Then I would recommend that after this episode, you go back and watch day 1 and day 2 again, right? In summary, though, a research project is only valuable if you can change somebody's mind, right? If you can change somebody's way of thinking, if you can provide value to someone, right? Whether you can make that process better, faster, cheaper, or you can change the way they think about something, right? That would make your research project valuable. Now, the more advanced question would be, okay, I now understand, or you now understand that a research project has to be valuable. Now that you have studied the literature using the different levels of reading that we talked about 2 weeks ago in the last episode, how do you go from there? Right? You have read a lot of research papers. You still can't seem to find the direction of research for your thesis, right? And this is the worst thing that could happen to you is that you get your research direction from your advisor. That is the worst, but also the most common thing that would happen to you. Your advisor would just look at you and just go, hey, why don't you do this for your thesis? And usually you being students, especially Thai students, would just go, oh yeah, I guess I would do that because my advisor told me to do it, right? And I find that to be unfortunate because after all, it is your degrees, right? And you should have a say on what would make a good research project and what would your thesis subject is going to be, right? So today we're going to talk about this on the assumptions that you have read enough papers that you get the general layout of the field of research that you want to do. Now let's take it one step further. Let's take it to the step of, okay, now that I know a bunch of stuff, where do I find my direction? How do I find my thesis title, right? So today we're going to use 3 papers as an example of how to find your research direction. One of the papers we have talked about before in, I believe, episode 3, right? Day 3, which is the one that talked about the role of gender when it comes to hotel guest satisfaction, right? The other 2 papers will be completely new to you. We would actually not go into much details about the paper at all, but we will use them to basically provide you as a guide on how to find your own research direction. The 3 papers are from 2000. Hold on, let me look up the actual dates of the paper. The 3 papers are from 1988, 1996, and 2014. Right? 1988, 1996, and 2014. We are going to go chronologically backward in this episode, right? We're going to start from the newest paper and go to the oldest one. Right? If you want to follow along with the paper, the description for the paper or the link to the paper is in the video description down here, in whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. Okay, so we're gonna start with the first one from 2014. This is the one that you have seen before. Okay, this is the one that you have seen before when we talk about how to know that you have a valuable research. Just to recap a little bit, this paper is called "Moderating Role of Gender in the Relationship Between Hotel Service Quality Dimensions and Tourist Satisfaction," right? Written by Suki in 2014. From now on, I will refer to this paper as the Suki paper, right? Like sukiyaki paper. Just to recap a little bit why this paper is a good and valuable research project, right? So this paper basically recapped this. It said gender has frequently been identified as one of the key attributes and predictors in developing marketing strategy, right? And prior to this research, as they claim, prior to this research, the design of hotel service quality dimensions and tourist satisfaction did not take into account gender. Right? This paper tells you how to take into account gender role in designing the hotel service quality dimensions and tourist satisfaction survey. Right? That's it. That's this paper in its entirety. Right? The rest of it is just methodology and whatever. So, but the big diagram that summarizes this paper is this one. Right? So the key idea of this paper is this. Before this paper, these 5 factors, right? Assurance of quality, reliability of service, responsiveness of services, tangibility of the services, and the empathy of the service staff play an important role in tourist satisfaction. What this paper tells you is that not only do these 5 factors play an important role in tourist satisfaction, gender of the guests also play an important role as well. So you can see the gender of the guests comes in to interfere with the factors over here, right? And this factor, this paper goes on further to show in this diagram down here, the difference down here. Second. This one right here. So this paper goes on to show, if you don't understand the statistics, just ignore it for now. Just listen to me, right? Just listen to my beautiful voice. This paper show you the difference between the male tourists and the female tourists in different factors, right? So what is this paper doing is basically the diagram that I showed you earlier. This paper saying that, hey, before this paper, you all have been measuring, like all the hotels, have been measuring these 5 factors to calibrate for your tourist satisfaction. But what you forgot to do is to take into account the gender of the guests in doing tourist satisfaction. Right? And this paper argues that you need to take into account the gender of the guests. Right? So this is the process that I call optimization. So let me pull up this screen. So this is the process that I call optimization. And I typically see a lot of this kind of thing in master's student level and some PhD level. There's nothing wrong with it, but this is the most basic level of finding your own research direction. Right? What does optimization mean? Optimization means this. There is a method that people have been using, right? Or there is some kind of measurement that people have been using. And what you do is you basically just look at the ingredients of what goes into that measurement, right? Let's say there are 4 ingredients. And in the optimization level of a research project, you basically just pick one component and basically just say, hey, what happened if I change that? What happens to change that? And then you prove that if you change that to a new version of method ingredient number 1, you get a better result. Right? And that's exactly what this paper is doing. This paper is saying, hey, the measurement that you have been doing is the tourist satisfaction. Right? And in doing tourist satisfaction, you have many ingredients, one of which was the factors that goes into tourist satisfaction. But hey, what if you just add gender dimension to that factor? Now you have a new methodology that is better. Right? I see this all the time in master level of research. Right? So for example, you would see students saying, oh, this group of people have done this measurement in Europe. Now I want to do the same measurement, but in Phuket. Right? These people have measured wastewater level in Patong area. Now I want to measure the wastewater level at Cadotte beaches. Right? So you see, it's just optimization, right? You already have a methodology with a bunch of ingredients in there. Ingredient would be like, where did you do the research? How did you do the research? When did you do the research? And then you just change one of the factors. This is the easiest and the laziest way to do research. I'm not saying it's bad. Don't get me wrong. A lot of master's students have graduated this way, right? Oh, some people measure soil in Phang Nga. Now I want to measure soil in Phuket as well. Oh, some people have done remote sensing in Phang Nga. Now I want to do it in Phuket as well. Some people have measured guest satisfaction in Phuket at 5-star hotels. Now I want to do the same for boutique hotels. You see how easy that is to come up with a new direction for your research, right? It is easy, it is quick, it will get the result, but it's also the most boring level of doing research because anyone can come up with it, right? You read a paper, pull out the ingredients of that research, and then you basically just tweak one thing and you get a paper. Right? It's that easy. Right? It's not hard at all. So typically, again, like I said, I usually see this in master and maybe early PhD student, right? But that's not exciting. Like, who wants to do that? Right? You want to be groundbreaking. You want to be people. You want to be researcher that people look up to, right? So you can't stop there. You can't stop there. You have to go at the deeper level. You have to go down to the deeper level of research. Therefore, let me present to you the second paper of the example. Right? So this is the first paper, Suki, from 2014. The next example is from Gundersen. The paper is titled Hotel Guest Satisfaction Among Business Travelers. What are the important factors? Right? What are the important factors? So you probably have not read through this paper, so let me step through it real quick with you all, right? So this paper starts by saying, in their quest for improved quality, hospitality industry often face 2 major obstacles, right? So 1, they do not know which aspect the guests consider important. And then 2, they don't have reliable or valid measurement for quality perceptions, right? So basically, 1, they don't know what the guests want. And then 2, even when they do know, they don't have a good way to measure the satisfaction of the guests, right? How do you measure it? Like, do you ask people for a satisfaction survey, right? Do you rank it from 1 to 5? But then you have people like me who never grade anything at perfect. Like, you will never get perfect score from me. So how do you reliably get a good measurement of something, right? And that's this paper right here. So what is this paper doing? This paper is saying, hey, how about I try to solve these 2 problems for you? Remember, this paper is from 1996, right? A long time ago. Right? So this paper is saying, hey, why don't I tell you which aspects the guests consider to be important when it comes to hotel industry, and what is the best and most reliable way to measure something. Okay, so it goes into the details of like how to do this whole experiment, what kind of statistical tools they use. We will not go into the details here. We will talk about it more when we talk about writing your thesis, right? How do you cite the work? How do you read something like this that make your head go like, oh, I don't know what a Cronbach's alpha is. How do you read something like that when you have no idea what it's talking about, right? But the key diagram of this research is this one right here, right? So you have basically 20 hold on. Right? So you have a bunch of factors that are important for hotel industry and guest satisfaction, right? So you have the reception quality, the food and beverage department, the housekeeping department. You have the intangible aspect of the reception, the tangible aspect of reception, blah, 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 blah. And then the key is this result right here, which is kind of gnarly, but just ignore it for now, what it's trying to say. The key of this paper is this. The key of this paper is saying, hey, of all the factors that you think might be important for tourist satisfaction, only some of them are actually important, right? Because if you ask anyone, right? If you ask anyone, for example, the comfort of the reception area, right? If you walk into a hotel and the reception area is comfortable, maybe you like the hotel more, right? So if you ask anyone at all, like, oh, how important do you think the comfort level of the reception area is important or not for a hotel? Almost everyone would say yes. But if you look at the research, it actually matters the least of all, right? So why is this research valuable, first of all? This research is valuable because if you are a hotel manager, you have limited resources, right? You have limited resources, you have limited time, you have limited people to improve things, and you want to improve things that matter the most to your guests. So let's say if you have a choice between improving the comfort level of the reception area or improving the availability of room at check-in, right? Let me highlight these two. Right? Let's say you are a hotel manager and you have two choices. You can either improve the comfort level of the reception area or you can improve the availability of room at check-in. So maybe turn over the room quicker, have the housekeeper doing that things quicker, so you have more empty rooms to serve customer. Which one would improve the guest satisfaction more? Obviously, this one down here would be better served for you, right? So this paper was groundbreaking. Again, remember that this is from 1996. Okay, this is a long time ago. Before this paper came out, people think that all of this is important and you have to do all of it at the same time. And that's obviously a disaster, right? You cannot do everything at the same time. So this paper came out and basically saying that, hey, if you have limited resources and time, only focus on things that matter, right? Only focus on things that have high score, right? So notice how this is totally different from the Suki paper that we just talked about. The Suki paper told you that, hey, these 5 factors we know that they are important, right? However, we can tweak it a little bit to make it more accurate ways of measuring guest satisfaction by incorporating the gender role into the survey. Right? This paper, this second paper that I show you, the Gundersen paper, which is what I'm going to call it from now. The Gundersen paper is totally different from the Suki paper. So again, Suki paper said, hey, these 5 factors are important. Let me try to make it better by including gender. Right? The Gundersen paper goes, hey, we have 20 factors and only some of them are important. right? Not all of them are important. Hey, we have 20 factors, only some of them are important. Let me help you find which one is important, right? That's the key of the Gundersen paper. So why is this one different? Because this is what I call the refinement level. Right? Refinement, what does it mean? Refinement means that you know that something is true, but you're not sure whether it works or not. Right? Let me say that again. You know that something is true, but you don't know whether it works or not. That's refinement right here. So in contrary to optimization that you know that it works, right? Know that it works for sure, but you try to make it work better. That's optimization, right? Again, this is the easiest thing to do. Out of all three, anyway. I'm not saying it's an easy research. It's just the easiest way to find your research direction. But refinement is that you know that something is true, but you're trying to see if it works. Right? So what does that mean in the context of this paper? So for the Gundersen paper, we all know that some factors affect tourist satisfaction, but we're not sure which one works, right? We have 20 factors. We don't know out of the 20 which one works. We just kind of know that it probably should affect the tourist satisfaction, but we're not sure which one works, right? Which is why refinement level is so much more groundbreaking than the optimization level, because optimization just take it and just make it a little bit better, right? Refinement is just take something and make something out of it. Think of it as refine, right? Look at the word refine. So we all know gem, and I'm not a good artist, so this is my rendition of a gem stone. We all know that gemstones are expensive and beautiful and whatever, right? But before it becomes a gemstone, you have this ore that has like gold in it or diamonds in it or whatever, right? And then you have to refine it. You have to refine it to get a gem out of it, right? So this is the truth that you know. You know that in this piece of rock, there is a gemstone in it. And then you have to refine your way of thinking to make it work, make it valuable to everyone, right? And this optimization process is just taking this gemstone and just make it shiny, which is, yeah, cool, but it's not that hard, right? Finding a gem from the start is even harder, right? So that's the difference between refinement and optimization. And even at the refinement level, I rarely see students strive toward that level of thinking, right? They don't usually go down to the refinement level, which is unfortunate because that's where the fun parts of doing research is, right? What is more fun though is the deepest level of finding your direction for research, right? So we have optimization, we have refinement, and the deepest level of doing research is at the assumption level. Okay? So let me draw that into this level over here. So you have optimization, you have refinement, and then lastly you have assumption. Right? And I will not define what an assumption is until I am done telling you about this first wonderful paper by Cadotte, I think. I don't know. I can't pronounce whatever language that is. German? French? I have no freaking idea. Let's call him Cadotte, right? This paper is from 1988. And the paper is titled very simply, Key Factors in Guest Satisfaction. Key Factors in Guest Satisfaction. Very simple title, right? And this paper is only 9 pages long, right? Gundersen paper is 10 pages and Suki paper is 20 pages. Okay. So this paper is only 9 pages long. And once we have gone through this paper, you all will go, oh my God, I can't believe how easy that paper was. They were so lucky in 1988 to be able to do simple research for their PhD degrees, right? And then we would talk about why they weren't that lucky. All right, let's step through it. So this paper is almost not even a paper. This is more like a news article, but this is just the style of writing back in 1988. So this paper starts off by saying, hey, some attributes of a hotel or restaurant are most likely to win compliments, while others usually show up on the customer's complaint list. And some just don't seem to make any difference at all. Knowing which factors are most likely to earn compliments or complaints can help a manager improve guest satisfaction. All right, let's step through it. So the first part of the research is about a restaurant satisfaction, right? We will skip that because we are more focused on the hotel example over here. So for the hotel part, the researchers basically went out and sent out a bunch of surveys to a bunch of hotel owners, asking them what are the most frequent compliments and what are the most frequent complaints in their hotels. Right? And then they basically came up with this 10 list of 10 each for the complaints and the compliments. Okay. All right. And then after that, they make the hotel owners rank the complaints and the compliment according to the frequency filed or reported by the customers. Right? And then you notice something very, very quickly. First of all, you have all of these factors, which everyone would have thought, right? Everyone would have thought that it makes a difference in tourist satisfaction. For example, look at this quality of advertising. Oh, sorry. So the rank number 1, so lower number mean more frequent, right? Higher numbers mean less frequent. So for example, people usually complain about the price of the rooms, meals, and services first before they start complaining about something else. For example, before they start complaining about quality of advertising, right? But if you ask anyone at all, let's do this one because this one has more contrast, right? So the management's knowledge of service. For example, if you ask a hotel staff, hey, what time is the gym open? Right? You expect the staff to know. Right? And you would have thought that that would be a very important factor for guest satisfaction. But guess what? That only matters if the staff does job well. So if the staff knows every services in the hotel, then you get a compliment. However, if the staff doesn't really know when the gym is open, it's really not that big of a deal because it ranked 20. Right? It's ranked 20 out of 25 or 21st, sorry. It ranked 21st out of 25 factors. So therefore, if your management know the services in the hotel, it's much better for them to do the job well, but it doesn't really matter if they don't know how to do the job, right? So there's a difference between being good at something and it's affecting the quality of the service or the tourist satisfaction compared to not knowing how to do the job and affecting the tourist satisfaction. Let me give you this other one here, right? The price of rooms, meals, and services. What this means is that if it's too expensive, you will hear the customers complain. But if it's too cheap, the customer will not say anything about it, right? Because it's ranked 15. It's ranked 15, right? Another thing that I find interesting is the restaurant part here. The availability of parking, right? And this happens all the time in Phuket. You have like really great restaurants that has no parking, right? Turns out the availability of parking will get a lot of complaint. So if you don't have parking spots, people will complain about it. If you have a lot of parking spots for your customers, like if you always have parking spots for your customers don't really seem to care, They don't think you are doing good job, even though you always have parking spots for them. So they basically expect you to have parking spot. Right? What is this telling you? Is this, or what this telling me is this? Before this paper came out, everyone would have thought that the things that people care about should be the same, right? So if you do something well, people should compliment you on it. But if you do the same thing poorly, you should get a complaint about it. But this paper shows you that it's not true. There are two different sets of factors. One of them will get you complaints, the other set will get you compliments. And these two sets can be totally different depending on the industry that you are in. Right? Why is this important? Because this goes back to the very, very basic layer of doing research. Right? This attack the assumption of doing research, right? For this paper, the assumption was that the factors that give you compliment is the same as the factors that give you complaints. And this paper came out and said, this is totally not true. Right? This is at the assumption level. So what you typically hear when people talk about the assumption level is what they call the first principle thinking, right? Thinking from the first principle. So when you read this kind of paper, they actually go down into the assumption of other papers and basically just tear it apart, right? Remember what we talked about when we talked about valuable research project, right? A valuable research project can either help you do things better by making it faster, better, and cheaper. That's optimization and refinement. Or it can change the way you think. And the only way to change the way people think is to attack it at the first principle assumption level. Right? So this paper does a really good job by attacking things at the assumption level, at the first principles level. Right? So the assumption is that the complement factors and the complaints factors are the same. And this paper came out and be like, it's not true. Boom, mind blowing. Because it attacks the assumption layer of doing research. So from now on, this paper at the refinement level and optimization level are basically subset, right, within a subset of the assumption paper level, right? Because it totally changed the way everyone thinks. You can't just talk about customer satisfaction. You have to talk about satisfaction and dissatisfaction because they are two totally different factors. Right? So if we go by the same analogy over here, at the assumption level, it goes like this. So at the refinement level, you take things that you know is true and you try to see if it works, right? At the assumption level, you take things that people thought was true and then disprove it. So if we go back to this gem analogy over here, right? At the refinement level, you go, I found this ore that has gem in it, so I have to refine it to get like a good, useful, valuable gem out of it. At the assumption level, you go, I have two pieces of rocks, and I'm not sure which one has a gem in it. And you have to attack that assumption. Yeah, you have to attack that assumption that some of them might not even have gem in it, right? Because these two rocks come from the same mountain somewhere that has a bunch of gems in there in the past, and you would assume that either of the rock actually have gem in it, but it might not be true at all, right? That's the assumption level. You have to attack things at the assumption level, and this is what I have not usually seen from PhD students at all, right? It's not that Not that it's impossible, but it is so freaking hard to do it, right? Uh, even even most of my research are at this level. Only a few of my research is actually at the assumption level, and that's why paper at the assumption level actually get really good citation score because it attacks the core principles of the field of study, right? And just to show you this proof of the difference between the three levels of research direction, let me show you this data that I got. All right. So we have the, here, let me add the years in here. Years 1988, 1996, and 2014. Better. All right. And let me do levels of thinking. So this is assumption level, refinement level. First of all, some of you is probably going, hey, this one get a lot more citation. So the Cadotte paper from 1988 at the assumption level gets 620 citation. The refinement level get 488, and the optimization get 40. Right? And some of you might be a smart ass and go, hey, that one gets 620 because it's published way earlier. Well, true. The longer your paper is published, the higher chance for it to get cited. But the difference between these two is gigantic, right? The difference between these two is 140 citations. And if you know anything about research paper at all, 140 citations is a huge number. And look at the difference between these two. That's 440 citations, right? I dare you to publish a paper that gets 440 citations in basically 18 years, right? 440 citation in 18 years is 24 citations a year. That's a lot of citation, right? So if that should convince you that the deeper layer of doing research, so the assumption layer, will have more impact compared to the refinement layer, compared to the optimization layer. Right? Unfortunately, most of you will come into this master or PhD program and try to get the easiest thing to do. Not because you are lazy. I'm not saying you are lazy, but because you don't know better, right? You think that, oh, by just changing one factor over here at the optimization level, by adding gender into the factors, all of a sudden you have a good research project. Well, you do. It's also boring, right? Optimization level of doing research is the most boring thing because any monkeys can come up with it. Right? You take ingredients and you just change one thing. You usually what I see, which is what made me angry the most, is just changing location. Right? Oh, people have done this in the northern of Thailand, or let me do it in the south of Thailand. Well, that's not interesting at all because you know the method would work. It just nobody has done it in the south of Thailand. Is it a good research project? Well, it is a good project. Is it valuable? Well, yeah, it is valuable, but is it PhD worthy? I don't think so. Like, I literally don't think so. And some of you might have your seniors that graduated with optimization level of research. Well, good for them. But I'm going to tell you right now, if your goal here is just to get a degree, well, go optimization. But if your goal to be here is to get educated and to be a better researcher, try to dig deeper, right? Try to improve something, try to refine something, try to attack the assumptions of doing research. Okay. It is a very hard subject to teach about finding your direction, but I hope that's helpful for some of you. So again, optimization is you know something that works, you just try to make it work better. Refinement, you know that something is true, you're just trying to see if it works or not. And assumption is that, well, I thought that was true, but it's not even true at all because you disprove it, right? And try to be down here, right? Try to be down here, try to be down here. If your advisor gave you this level of research, try to argue with your advisor, try to see if you can come down here at least, right? Try to refine the process, try to change something, because optimization level of doing research is almost not even a research, right? That should be the application of other people's work, not even a research from my point of view, right? Which might sound harsh, but it is true, and you know it's true. All right. So, like I said, this is a very hard topic to teach because it's something. It's an intuition that you accumulate over years of reading research projects and evaluating research projects. And the best way to practice this is to get some of the best papers in your field of study, right? Get some of the best, most cited works in your field of study and see which level of research that paper is. And almost always, you will find that it's either attacking the assumptions or it's refining the process. You will never see good research papers with a lot of citation in the optimization level, right? Because that's master level of study. Bottom line is this. In order to develop that intuition, you either have to read a lot of research papers to get that intuition, or read that research papers with a mentor, right? So that the mentor can guide you which level of research he or she thinks it is, right? Luckily, since you are within the GSD program, I am your mentor for the rest of this semester. Yay. So feel free to send me any of the papers that you have that you think might be good or bad. And then I can try to show you what level of research that would be. So if you're not in the line group, this is a QR code to join the line group for the GSD program. Feel free to send any papers over there. Feel free to do any discussion about it, about anything, about doing research, right? And being a good researcher. So yeah, heavy topics today. And remember, remember this. Whichever level of research you do, you will have to stick with it until the end of your program, right? So you can do optimization for 3 years and then feel really unhappy about it because you know you're not doing anything exciting. Or try harder in the beginning and get down to the refinement level, get down to the optimization level, and be excited about your work for the rest of your program, right? Because after all, if you are pursuing PhD, I hope you are doing it out of passion and not because you don't know what to do with your life. So might as well get a PhD. So if you are pursuing PhD, I hope you are doing it with passion. If you don't have passion, the easiest way is to do fun works, right? And the easiest way to do fun works is to do deeper levels of research, right? And that's where I'm going to leave you with for today. Again, the only way to develop intuition is to read a lot, right? So go back to those research papers that you have been putting off and read the shit out of it, okay? And share your experience within Line group or Facebook channel. Anyway, so that is it for today. Thank you for joining me at GSD Part 2, GSD with Tanwa Part 2. I can't even remember the program's name. GSD with Tanwa Part 2, Day 5, finding your own direction in doing research. During next week, I'm going to show you real examples from my past students. I am sorry to all my students in the past, but I will pull up some of their work, right, to show you the different levels of research that I have seen from master's students. I have only had master's students so far. I have seen some PhD students that are not my students, so I will use some of those examples as well and show you the level of research that I have seen from ex-students, right? And from there, I will use that as an example of if you get a thesis topic from your advisor and it's at the optimization level, how could you have made it go down at the deeper level of doing research, right? So hopefully that will be very useful to some of you who might be struggling at finding your own topic. But that is it for this week. Thank you for joining me. I will see you again next week at 1:30 p.m. And I will give you examples of how finding your direction and making your research more deeper. More deep. I can't even speak today. But anyway, thank you for joining me. See you next week at 1:30. Goodbye.